The human population has already surpassed 8 billion, and it keeps growing. There have never been so many of us. And the more of us there are, the safer we should be, right? Not exactly. Experiments have shown that destructive behaviors can emerge simply from overcrowding. And when humans are pushed into deprivation, we become capable of things almost impossible to imagine. To understand this, we need to go deeper, much deeper. It's time to go down the rabbit hole. Thomas Malthus believed humanity was heading toward a crisis, starvation. He argued that population grows exponentially, while food production increases only linearly. In his view, it was inevitable. Sooner or later, there wouldn't be enough for everyone. But Malthus was wrong. The human population kept growing, yet food production grew even faster. Today, we produce more than enough to feed every human being on Earth. And yet, hunger still exists. But not because we can't produce enough. In fact, more people now die from obesity than from starvation. So, the problem was never just survival. But to understand how things begin to unravel, we need to go back to the 1950s and 60s. A series of experiments were conducted, not on humans, but on rats, designed to answer a simple question: what happens when a population grows without limits? The answers were darker than anyone expected. The experiment was simple in design, but unsettling in its implications. Rats were placed inside a structured enclosure, shelters connected by ramps, forming multiple levels, 4 floors in total. They were given everything: unlimited food, unlimited water, protection from weather, protection from predators, a perfect environment. It became known as the Mouse Utopia. With space and abundance, the population began to grow, rapidly, uncontrollably, until it reached a point of overcrowding. And then, paradise began to decay. Females could no longer carry pregnancies to term. Many died during birth. Those who gave birth often abandoned their young. Maternal behavior collapsed. Males became erratic, sexually dysfunctional, violent, cannibalistic. Others withdrew completely, feeding only when the rest were asleep, avoiding all contact. The population began to cluster around the feeding areas, while other parts of the environment were left empty. A society once structured was dissolving into chaos. Calhoun gave this phenomenon a name: behavioral sink. After the rat experiments, others followed, this time with mice, the most famous of them all, Universe 25. The enclosure was designed to support up to 4,000 individuals. It never reached that number. The population peaked at around 2,200, and even that was enough. As density increased, behavior began to break down. Mothers abandoned their offspring. Courtship disappeared. The instinct to reproduce faded, not because they couldn't, but because they no longer knew how. Physically capable, yet socially lost. A population surrounded by abundance that slowly lost the ability to exist within it. Not everyone agrees with the conclusions. There are criticisms. Some argue that overcrowding alone may not explain what happened. Factors like hygiene, parasites may have played a role. And perhaps more importantly, these experiments were never widely replicated. The results were striking, but not definitive, which leaves us with a question. Were we witnessing a fundamental truth, or just a flawed experiment that happened to look like one? Calhoun described the collapse as a kind of spiritual death. He even drew a parallel to a passage from Revelation, the second death, not the end of the body, but something deeper, the loss of purpose, the loss of meaning. He warned that growing populations, especially in dense urban environments, could face similar risks. But we need to be careful. Humans are not rats. Our behavior is more complex. Our societies are built on layers far beyond instinct. And the conditions of the experiment do not perfectly reflect the reality of modern cities. Still, it leaves a question, not about survival, but about what happens when everything we need to live is already there. It's not just about numbers. Large groups, under the right conditions, can become something else. Not individuals, but a single force. Emotions spread faster than reason. Fear becomes panic. Anger becomes violence. This is not the same as the experiment, but it reveals something similar, that under certain conditions, behavior doesn't just scale, it transforms. History has seen this before, not in laboratories, but in cities. In 18th century France, a population under pressure began to fracture. Scarcity. A system stretched too far. And then the crowd formed. What followed was not just revolution. It was something darker. The reign of terror, where fear spread faster than reason and violence became self-sustaining. Not the same as the experiment, but another example of what can happen when conditions align and behavior begins to break. Maybe the real danger was never the lack of resources, but what happens when nothing is missing, when survival is guaranteed, but meaning is not. And what Calhoun saw may not have been the death of a population, but something quieter, a second death.